Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jarek Brian Show. My name is Jarek, and on today's show, guys, we have a very special guest. We have Steven from VyFinance. And Steven, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastically. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm glad you're on the show, and I love projects coming on from Cardano and seeing what they're building and everything like that. But Steven, before we get into VyFinance, let's learn a little bit more about you. What brought you here all the way to Web3?
It's been a long journey. So my background was actually TradFi. So I started working in bonds after university, which was where I studied physics. I went into quant functionally. So I was doing maths at a hedge fund, and that was good fun. I was specializing in interest rates and interest rate swaps. So that's an area of the market's called STIRS, or short-term interest rates, was my focus. And I also did some 3-10s, to be fair. So that's 3 years and 10 years. From there, I moved into financial advisory and stock brokerage. I basically did 8 years in TradFi. And in that time, I got a lot of experience and learnt quite a bit. But more than anything, I was interested in finance and started trading some crypto in 2016. And then in 2017, we went up, we went down, we hit 2019. And that's when DeFi really started to come out on Ethereum in particular, and also actually a little bit of Tron. I remember Just Token was one of my first tokens, JST. So I started getting into DeFi, and what was really interesting was that I realized that the mathematical structure of liquidity pools is very similar to the mathematical structures of interest rate swaps. And as a result, I really sort of dove deep into liquidity mining, and I really sort of made that my specialty. And doing it for 2 years, I started to feel like there were a lot of things that I could do better, or a lot of designs that I wanted to implement. And as a result of that, I sort of decided to build my own product, and here we are now in 2024, 3 years later.
Yeah, that's definitely great. And Steven, you have this project that you're building on Cardano with VYFI. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I'm sure we're all aware, Cardano is a very unique technology, right? It's a unique blockchain. It does things a bit differently. So, one of the main reasons why we came to Cardano was because we saw that unique technology as giving us the power to really implement new and unique functions into DEXs. So I like to think of VyFi as the most uniquely Cardano DEX, as at no point have we tried to copy the structures of DEXs and other blockchains. Rather, we've tried to implement Cardano's technology in a super unique way that gives rise to what is a uniquely Cardano product. And let me give you examples of what I mean by this. As a starting point, we have non-custodial farming. So as far as I'm aware, we're the only DEX in crypto that has non-custodial farming. So what this means is that the LP tokens, after you've created your LP tokens, sit in your wallet, and they automatically begin farming for you. So all you do is you go to our main page, and boom, there you can see it. All the LPs that you hold, you also are automatically farming for those. And that's, of course, implementable because of Cardano's technology of non-custodial staking, right? Which is something that's built into the Cardano blockchain. Now, with that, it now gives us the opportunity to sort of unlock the potential value inside the LP tokens. And this is then going back to my traditional finance days, and my trading head instantly thinks of derivatives, right? What is a derivative? A derivative is simply a product that is made up of underlying products, or it represents the value of those underlying products. So in the case of an LP token, you have yourself a circumstance where you are holding a token which is representative of 2 other tokens, both of those tokens in the liquidity pool. And what's really important is that these 2 other tokens aren't just held as value, but they're actually held in a lower risk value form than if you were to hold just a token outright. You still, of course, suffer impermanent risk, but impermanent risk is about half the price risk of holding particularly the smaller token in the liquidity pool outright, generally not the major token. So as an example, if I'm holding Bitcoin USDT in a liquidity pool, my price risk of the LP token is half the price risk approximately of just holding Bitcoin outright for the same value. So what what you've developed now is essentially a token which is a derivative of an underlying financial structure. Now, in other blockchains and in other circumstances, this token is normally thought of as a throwaway because you put it into farm and then you don't think about it anymore, right? But in our circumstance, we've been able to build what are called L2LPs, or layer 2 liquidity pools. And these are essentially farms where we boost farming for users who take their liquidity pool tokens and match those liquidity pool tokens with liquidity. With liquidity. So in that case, Cardano for the most part. So what this gives us is very similar to a balancer 80-20 pool, and it's the closest thing that we have on the Cardano blockchain to a balancer 80-20 pool. But you have an LP token with Cardano, which gives you a balance of 75% Cardano, 25% token. Except we've been able to do it by layering liquidity pool tokens together, which is something that's completely unique in crypto. All right, I'll stop there. That was a hammer.
That was a hand. No, that was great, and it kind of go more like kind of into the. Well, actually, I want to ask about like DeFi in general, right? Somebody that's kind of like new coming to DeFi, right, and wants to learn more about DeFi. Do you guys have like some sort of like educational videos that they can kind of like go on, or maybe a YouTube channel that they can kind of go and kind of learn this kind of step by step?
Absolutely. So we've got educational YouTube channels. We've got our VyFi YouTube channel. We've got over 200 videos in the playlist there. So you definitely hammer through those. But actually, I want to take the opportunity to describe here because everything I was talking about is super complex, right? But let's talk about why this complexity actually makes it the simplest system that exists in crypto, right? So this is where the power of Cardano technology really comes through amazingly. So let's go back to the concept I was talking about of layer 2 liquidity pools, right? This is a circumstance where you have an LP token matched with Cardano, and together they form a liquidity pool. This means from the front end, we now have a new swap. In other words, users can now trade between those two tokens, Cardano and LP. Now, if we merge this fact with non-custodial farming, so you can actually hold an LP in your wallet without ever staking it to a farm and earn a farm, we've created a new streamlined process where a new user can actually go from zero to liquidity pool mining in the space of one transaction. And that single transaction is just a trade on the DEX. You just pick what LP you want to buy, you input how much Cardano you want to buy, enter, and the LP arrives in your wallet and you're instantly farming. So what is normally a 3-step process: gather 2 tokens, submit both tokens into LP, submit LP into farm, has now turned into a 1-step process: purchase an LP off the front end of the DEX. That's it. And
that's pretty good. Now keep going.
And at the same time as being able to deliver this simplified mode of purchasing LPs and engaging with farm, simultaneously we're able to create through the L2LPs, we're able to create unique trading structures that give traders more protection by covering their impermanent risk, by layering their liquidity on top of more Cardano. So what we've been able to essentially do is simplify the process for new users down to a 1 transaction to engage, whilst also providing tools that give more utility and more price protection for traders who want to manage their liquidity in a more advanced manner.
And so that advanced trading, like part, like it's all kind of like, broken down and for people to actually like gain access to. But, as somebody that's, like kind of like new to DeFi and wants to get onto DeFi and Cardano and whatnot, like where would you suggest that they go to kind of start off at?
Absolutely. Well, for our platform, the best place is, of course, the docs, and that's docs.vyfi.io. And that explains how all of these systems works and also takes you through a little bit of maths, but also there are many sections. You don't have to go through the maths. They're all in extra bits if you want to. I enjoy maths. But for the most part, the best place to start when you're heading into Cardano is TapTools. That's TAPTOOLS.io. And TapTools.io is essentially sort of like the landing pad or trading front end for the Cardano blockchain. And from there, you can follow, you can basically look at every project, you can look at all the markets. There are now eight DEXs on Cardano, I believe.
Yeah.
7. So
something like that.
the ecosystem is growing, and it's growing fairly fast. Actually, I'm rather happy with how fast it's been growing, and we'll talk about that soon, I'm sure, about Cardano more generally. But overall, find some projects that you're interested in, and when you're interested in some projects, go and engage in liquidity for those projects. Not only are you helping those projects, but you're also helping, but you're also growing the ecosystem by creating more liquidity for projects to engage, for people to engage. So liquidity provisions not only can it be a good income stream, but it's also a great way to help the blockchain, as the more liquidity, the more utility the blockchain has.
Yeah, no, like definitely. And, kind of like go more into the other features you have on VyFinance as well.
Yeah, so we also have the bar. So the bar is the first distributive mechanism on Cardano, and that works similarly to the sushi bar, if you want to, which is where the inspiration comes from. And that is essentially a system that collects a third, I believe it's 33%, of all the trades that take place on our DEX, takes those fees, converts them to VYFI, and then distributes it to all the holders of our token. So it's essentially a method for the holders of our token to be redistributed the percentage of the earnings of our DEX. And this works in the same system as the VY bar. This works similarly to the sushi bar, where you deposit VYFI and you receive another token called XVYFI. So you deposit VYFI to the bar, you receive XVYFI, and just by holding that XVYFI, you're automatically distributed those fees. We have, of course, we're about to implement. Actually, I'm going to share my screen for this because I'm really excited.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll add it right here.
Let me just set this up because I wasn't.
Yeah, no worries.
As prepared as I should have been.
No, but it's good people get a visual on it too as well. Like I said, in this last kind of cycle, the one that passed, like everybody was making all this, gains and money off DeFi, and I remember like, man, like I want to be a part of the party too, but like it's just a vast kind of system to cover, and the people are talking about farming, yield farming, staking, liquidity pools, you get all this stuff, and you're like, man, I don't know where to go.
All right, let me show you this. I agree, there's so much information out there. And what we're trying to do is really just simplify, like at the core, what VyFi is trying to do is we're trying to simplify this process. Okay, so this is our site. Fairly straightforward interface, looks like a normal DEX. Here is where you can do swaps. Here we've got the bar. We've got our vaults, which are the staking contracts, where you can stake tokens and stake NFTs. We've got a lottery, and we've actually got our first governance vote right now. So governance has just launched. We've had our first few. So super excited about all of those things. Now, the one that we're about to release is our transaction cart. And our transaction cart works very similarly to a Amazon sales cart, where you can essentially stack transactions from across the DEX and conduct them all simultaneously. And this is something that is very unique to Cardano, right? So now I'm adding a trade. I'm going to add some liquidity. I'm going to remove a little bit of liquidity from R to CBLP. Boom, add to cart. I'm going to do another trade just to stack on this cart a little bit more. Let's do a little bit of drip. I mean, it doesn't matter. That's absolutely fine. And, oh, nope, I accidentally pressed confirming. My mistake. I do apologize. And I just need to wait for a journal to pop up to go away. Boom, add that one to the cart. And very last one, I just want to add that indie that I saw here into liquidity. Wow, look at that. That looks delicious. Add that to the cart. So here is an example of 6. Oh, actually, while I'm here, I'm also going to throw down purchasing a lottery ticket. I should have enough space to do one. And I'll add that to the cart. Boom. So here we've got our cart. We've just stacked it up with 7 transactions from across the DEX that we want to do. And what's really nice is you can't see it here because none of them have gone out of range. But if they go out of range, it'll just come up. It'll pop up here saying your trade is no longer in range. Would you like that to go through as a limit order, or would you like to update that as the new price? You can leave it as is, and it goes through as a limit order, or you can update it to the new price, and it'll then, excuse me, and it'll then go through at the new price. Or of course, you can delete the trade.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're happy with your cart, you're going to press yourself a good old-fashioned confirm. And then, as they always do in Cardano, it comes up. So, of course, here, that's the amount of ADA you're going to send in. That's the amount of ADA that you're getting back. That's the amount of all the tokens that you're sending in. And if people aren't used to Cardano, it's the reason you're getting Cardano back is because of what's called concurrency, where every token in Cardano has to be sent with Cardano at the same time, just a little bit. It's 1.4 or so. But we like to put in a margin of error. So you send forwards with 2 and we send it back with 2. And now that's all just been submitted. So all of those transactions have all been submitted now. We wait 2-3 minutes and they all go through. So that's the whole point of that, really. That's the first time that a transaction cart like this has ever.
Yeah, no, and that seems like, like great too as well. And as we kind of want to like branch off here a little bit and talk about, Cardano itself, right? And kind of like, you guys choosing Cardano, right? And one, the reasons why, you chose Cardano in the first place, right? But also too, I also want to get into some other things as well. But first off, like, some of the main reasons, as someone that's new kind of watching this, right? What are some of the reasons to build on Cardano and why you guys like it here so much?
Building on Cardano is hard. That's something that I just want to state to start off, right? So, as a starting point, if you're not ready for a challenge, don't build on Cardano. And I mean that nicely, right? The reason we chose Cardano was actually fairly pragmatic. Back in the early days, I'm a little bit like yourself. I'm personally fairly blockchain agnostic. I'm mostly a trader, as is my background, right? So trader being my background means by definition, I trade. I'm not sitting there doing ethical quandaries on what I'm trading. So, which to be fair, sometimes you should. But primarily, what Cardano really offered us was the opportunity to differentiate our product, particularly back in 2021 when we were starting up the project. It's very difficult in that market to get yourself a name and get yourself seen. That's really the hardest part, right? You can make technology, but if no one sees it, no one cares. And Cardano at the time was still pre-smart contracts. If you go look at the earliest days of the Cardano ecosystem, we're one of the first, I believe, 10 projects to ever announce on Cardano. Our V1 VYFI token was the 4th ever minted CNT on the Cardano blockchain, 17th of March, 2021. And, I mean, we've basically been part of this ecosystem since it started, right? And that's given us the opportunity to differentiate ourselves and make a name for ourselves that we wouldn't have necessarily have gotten on other blockchains. So from a business perspective, back in the early days, it made a lot of sense in terms of differentiation of market. Now, since then, what we really love about Cardano is the capacity to create really unique and interesting products that you can't achieve on other blockchains. And I consider myself a fairly creative product designer and a fairly creative builder, right? So, as such, having a new technology that allows you to implement things in unique manners means that you've always got something interesting that you can do. And something that people haven't seen before. And that's exactly why I love Cardano. It's because everything that it allows us to do really does simplify the process for a new user, right? As I just showed you and explained, I should have done a trade with an LP in that last set, actually, so I could have shown you those LPs coming through. But we've been able to use Cardano to bundle transactions on a DEX. Let's say you're a liquidity miner that has 12 liquidity pools, and one day you decide you want to move 8 of them. In the past, that required going through all 8 farms, removing all the LPs from all 8 farms, removing the contents of all of those LPs, selling down 8 tokens, finding the other 8 tokens that you want. You need to do that anyway, but then doing 8 separate sets of trades and buying into those 8 new LPs, or buying the other half of the tokens, sending those into the LP and then depositing them back into farm. So the process on a normal DEX to remove 8 liquidity pools from farm and put them into 8 new farms would be 8 times 6, which comes out to, I don't want to stuff this up, 8, 16, 24, 48, which comes down to 48 transactions total, right? With our transaction cart and the fact that we've got non-custodial LP farming, that process, which on any other DEX in crypto would normally take 48 transactions, on our DEX, it's only going to take you breaking the LP, which can now be done in one transaction with the transaction cart, swapping out all 8 of the contents, which is now one transaction on the transaction cart, and then depositing all those 8 into a new LP, which is one transaction on the transaction cart. We've taken what could conceivably be a 48 transaction process, and we've turned it into a 3 transaction process.
That's super impressive.
Right?
No, that is.
And changing 8 liquidity pools is just a day in being a liquidity miner, right? Like if you're a liquidity miner, you're changing 8 liquidity pools at least twice a week. That's just part of the job. So that not only saves time, right? That's really important. It saves a lot of time on the user because now liquidity miners can run these 3 transactions quickly and not think about it. Or even better, build a bot that only has to run 3 transactions, so it's a much simpler bot. So not only is it much easier on the user, but more importantly, it's a lot cheaper. Because instead of having to run 48 sets of blockchain fees, you've only got to run 3. So on Cardano, a transaction fee is 0.17, right? Approximately, depending on your wallet, it can go up. Let's say 0.2 for simplicity, and a larger wallet would easily be charged 0.2. Cardano. 0.2 Cardano across 48 transactions, let's call it 50 transactions, you're looking at about 12.5 Cardano, right? Just in blockchain fees. In 3 transactions, you're looking at 0.6.
That's super cheap.
So not only have we reduced the conceivable price significantly, we've reduced the workload significantly, we've reduced the time investment significantly. And this is something that Cardano lets us do that other blockchains don't, right?
Yeah, no, keep going on that.
No, that's why I love it.
Yeah, no, and well, everybody kind of says it is tough building here and everything like that, and but they love the simplicity of it and things like that. But the thing I definitely got to ask you too as well is that as we've kind of progressed, right? And people have called Cardano the boomer chain, right? It's there's cool debt, the DeFi is pretty cool and everything like that, but nobody wants to kind of come here and build because it's kind of this. There's no real kind of support from the foundation, and it's just kind of how can you say, just Charles is kind of there, but he's kind of not really kind of there in a kind of a sense though. So kind of what's your kind of take on all that when people kind of say those things?
I just want to say that anything I express is my own personal opinion on my business, just because this is a touchy topic, right?
But it's things that have to be touched on,
Yep. Look, I would say that people that think that there isn't much being launched on Cardano are obviously not looking at Cardano, just as a starting point. There are literally heaps of projects being launched every day. As an example, I'm actually building a launch pad right now called T-1. T-1.pro is the website, and I'm going to be releasing that. We're releasing that in April with Zengate Global, who are a platform that are doing tea and coffee commodities trading that are being built on Cardano. Now, we're also launching Twin. Hopefully, I should add, that one hasn't been confirmed yet, but we're in talks with them. And they're a gold trading platform that's being built on Cardano. That's spelled TVVIN. And they've essentially built the legal structures to convert gold into a token and tokenize gold and launch it on the blockchain. We've got DeFi coming. We've got a lot of DeFi now. We've got lending platforms. We've got DEXs. We've got ourselves staking platforms. We've got ourselves algorithmic trading platforms such as Axo. So, I mean, the DeFi ecosystem has grown a lot. The gaming space is growing incredibly fast as well. I mean, Kopi is our largest game for sure,
Yeah.
but we've got multiple up and coming games, gambling games. Bet had a bit of a rough time recently, but that's a story for another day. Gambling coming out. I mean, it is a really action-packed chain. And I know that when we say that it's a little bit fuddy-duddy, it is, in the extent that it is mathematically a pure chain, right? So, to a certain degree, the salesmanship or the sales that go into the chain itself speaks to a more academic audience, which tends itself to being more fuddy-duddy, is the way that you described it, right?
Yes.
And that is something that, whilst on one level, I can understand that it provides a degree of concern, right? Because you think that you're not necessarily targeting the same market. But I just want to add that in that mathematical security that we've garnered through having this much more mathematically pure chain, we've had rug pulls on Cardano, of course, and knock on wood, but we haven't had a hack yet.
Nope. That is true.
You know, like we've had developers that have drained accounts, and that happens when you have bad actors, and that can happen anywhere, right? But of course, knock on wood, we haven't had a hack on our ecosystem yet. That can always happen. But I can assure you, within 2 years of having smart contracts being built on Ethereum, there were a lot more than one hack.
Yeah.
Right? So the security of the blockchain itself is playing itself out in reality. We're seeing it real time. You can engage with Cardano and feel safer about it because we have seen in practice that it is safer. Right?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Call that fuddy-duddy if you'd like, but hey, if that's the result that you get from some fuddy-duddiness, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. No,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you
go.
go.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as for Charles, let's leave discussing him for another day.
Yeah. So, no, and so that's the thing, though, is just that, like, you guys, like, there's a lot of great stuff being, like, you know, built on Cardano, right? And there's, you know, like I said, the security of the chain and everything like that, like, you know, seems like top notch, though, right? But what people is kind of, like, I guess, gripe with, like, the whole kind of, like, foundation is that they're not embracing kind of, like, I guess you could say, I hate using the word degen, but I think that's the only word where I can kind of get, like, the degen side of, you know, some of the other chains, right? Like, kind of like the Memecoin culture and, like, the kind of more so like the NFT ecosystem. It's because it seems like that only, you know, certain, like, you know, only or certain main projects get kind of like brought up in that kind of ecosystem, right? And that they would like, sort of similar to what AVAX has done with their with their Memecoins that they have, that the foundation has backed them up, and they would like, you know, that to happen, like, you know, kind of like on Cardano. But it seems like there's like that, no, that's just foolishness, and we're just not going to go ahead and kind of back all that.
Call myself a member of that fuddy-duddy brigade because I don't think we should.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, meme coins don't give. Like, okay, so.
I would love to hear this. No, go ahead, go off.
Yeah, meme coins are a good marketing tool to a certain degree. Sure, I'll give them that. Outside of being a good marketing tool, meme coins are often a path to disaster. So, like, when you're asking a blockchain to support any given meme coin, bugger knows which one's going to take off. We've had 3 meme coin seasons now in Cardano, and out of those 3 meme coin seasons, we've had 2, arguably 3 successful meme coins from all of it. Now, if I was going to take a shotgun approach during each meme coin season and say to the foundation, hey, foundation, throw $20 million at a spray gun of 50 meme coins and hope that one of them sticks, I think that that's a waste of money. And I think that that's a waste of money in any reasonable business's books, right? You want to be focusing in investment on projects that you would expect to see a return from. Now, I'm not saying you can't get a return from meme coins. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that the consistency with which you can devise a plan that allows you to make an investment in a reasonable manner on a meme coin is almost non-existent. Right? Now, I was super fortunate. I got in SNEC very early, for example. So I've done fairly well in SNEC. Fairly recently, I traded some Pepe and did fairly well. They did 400%. So, like, I'm certainly not against trading meme coins. right? But to say that they should have some form of foundational support, I think, is narrow-minded when the concept of foundational support should be growing the technology of your
I like that answer. See, it's a different aspect. I like a different approach to it. Well, because people are like, yeah, let's have the foundation, like back this and back that, and people are on Polygon trying to do the same thing, and people on AVAX, and we're having all these different people come out and say the foundation this, but I've always wanted to hear the kind of counterpoint to that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, but what about this? So it's good to hear that part. I'm really liking that answer. And Stephen, though, I do, before we lose it, though, I do want to go into your launch pad that you were talking about. We can kind of go more into that as well.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. So our launch pad is coming up in April. So we're launching with Zengate Global. I already mentioned this earlier. So that's Palm token, and we're super excited. What is really amazing is that, we've done a few things that are unique, but let's start with what I'm really happy for. So of course we're a fully regulated launchpad based out of Switzerland, which means that all users have to be KYC. This means that we're going to be hosting fully legal launches on Cardano, but what's really exciting is that we've devised the first system for jurisdictional compliance on Cardano. Now, what does jurisdictional compliance mean? People ask me. Jurisdictional compliance is really important when running legal launches. Functionally, I need to ensure, as the person selling tokens, i.e. the project, that none of the tokens are going to North Koreans. Sorry, Koreans are fine, South Koreans are fine. North Koreans or Iranians or honestly, Americans, because the law in America is funny. You're allowed to launch a token. That's absolutely fine. You're just not allowed to sell it to anybody. That's not okay. You guys are doing some funny stuff. But the problem with Cardano, I wouldn't say it's a problem, actually. The difficulty is a better word. The difficulty with Cardano is that it's a public blockchain. So I can't actually hide an address on the blockchain. And what this means is that if there's a smart contract that's managing the sale of a newly launched token, the smart contract doesn't have the capacity to reject or accept transactions based on off-chain data currently on-chain, right? We can't set that up as an on-chain function. So what we've essentially been able to do is we've been able to merge the data from our KYC provider, and we've been able to build our own system that bundles that, and then we feed that into our batcher, and we're actually able to confirm for projects that only transactions that are coming from KYC'd accounts and from KYC'd accounts are going to be going through to the smart contract. And that's the first time that we've been able to achieve a fully jurisdictionally compliant launch on Cardano. And that's something that I'm super excited for, because we've never, arguably up until this point, we've never actually been able to do a fully legal launch on this blockchain. So this is now going to be possible. And I'd love to show it, actually, because we're taking a very unique approach to launching tokens. Boom, this is the front page of T-1. So T-1, this is the launch pad. You got current sales, pre-sales, which are whitelisted, upcoming and closed. None of these are real. These are all just test tokens. This is on testnet. Of course, so you can go through the different forms, upcoming and closed. So the user, of course, have got their purchase history. They've got their analytics where they can see what the returns have been on the tokens they've made. KYC, of course. And then this is the bit that's fun, my projects. So we're essentially trying to take a Kickstarter approach to launching projects on the blockchain, right? We want users to be able to come here, create a token when they have an idea. They put in the details of their token. I can't be bothered minting a token right now, so I'm not going to go all the way through it. And then their token's minted. It arrives in their wallet. They can then take that token and create an ICO. So you put in your project name. You put in your description. You put in your tokenomics. Again, I can't be bothered doing it all. And then from there, it builds your project page. And then your project page will essentially have the details of your project, of course, the tokenomics, so the distribution, and the roadmap for your project. And then users are able to come to the front end, and they're able to just buy the token if they're interested in getting involved. And of course, we got website, white paper, and, it's iced tea, so it doesn't have socials. But
Yeah.
we could put Lipton socials as a bit of fun. But then there'll also
Yeah.
be like socials and the other links there as well. And this is essentially all going to be launched in early April. So we're looking at having this up live in the next month, maybe a month and a half.
Wow, that is actually really interesting in that aspect, in the sense of like, man, you can have like different projects going over there, and people can kind of get in on early on some of these like ICOs, but also too, what I want to ask, like, how is I know you guys are saying you're KYC, right? But what other measures are you taking to like vet these projects as well?
Mm-hmm. So every project that engages with us has to be KYB'd. That's a starting point. Now, KYB, of course, means that we know the identity of the people launching. Something to be aware of, though, is that doesn't mean we make the identity public. You know, if projects still want to have anonymous launches, they can have anonymous launches to the public, but they must be KYB'd with the business. Any launch that's over $100,000 in total value, they have to present us with a lawyer's advice from their end that our lawyers can just confirm to go over to ensure that they're not a security and to ensure that we're not going to be selling illegal goods. You know, I'm not here to sell.
That's amazing.
And that being said, for under 100,000, you don't need to have the lawyer's advice. That's what we've been told is an appropriate number from our legal side. But you're still, of course, going to have KYC, right? And from there, like, I wish I could say we'll never get a rug pulled, but I can't. Right? The reality is it's a launch pad. It's a risk that we have in this industry, but we're already implementing sort of a legal measure as well as a documentation measure of identity of both the business and the people running the business, so that if any legal action were to come and we were to be subpoenaed, we can say that we followed all the legal regulations that were required, and we can hand that over to the authorities and any requirements that they have to be able to prosecute whatever they need to, right? And I'm not going to say, like, we're not here to give out information, of course, but if regulators come to us with a subpoena, I'm not going to sit there and say, I'm sorry, I refuse to give you the subpoena, take me to prison.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, no, that's great, because then people can, like, you know, you can't honestly 100% say that, like, hey, like, you know, this is rug free, but people should know that it's sleep a little bit better, like, using your platform. Like, okay, these guys at least been vetted. There's at least been some form of, you know, like, if there's something were to go down, like, they could, like I said, they could face the proper penalties and whatnot. And you guys are working with making sure everything's regulated, and, you know, I like that part of it, to be honest with you.
It's important to me particularly. Sorry, I'm sweating so much. It's just a really hot night. It's really important to me. I see regulation as a sign of an industry growing up, not as a sign of something negative. So if we want our industry to mature, we want to start focusing on legal launches, right? And something that we can do in our launchpad already, it's already a little bit of cross-chain. We're already launching some RS-Erg projects, so Ergo projects. That's from the Ergo chain. So we can already launch Ergo projects on our launchpad as well. And that'll be available from launch. And then down the line, the main aim of this launchpad is we want to create a system called mission control, which is something that is sorely lacking, particularly in Cardano. It's essentially a system for projects to be able to access all the background utilities that they need for their project that isn't their actual project. So, like, whenever a project owner or builder is building out their system, the biggest problem they have is all the stuff that isn't their system. You know, they're building something they're passionate about, and then all of a sudden they have to put together a governance protocol, put together a treasury, put together liquidity pools, manage lending protocols, manage ambassador referral programs, put together marketing campaigns, manage socials. The list goes on, right? There's just so many things that as a project you have to manage that isn't your actual system. So what we want to do for Cardano is essentially build mission control, which is a front end. What's the word for it? I can't believe I'm forgetting it now. A desktop app. It's a front end, yeah. It's a front end that allows you to connect to all those services on the blockchain. So you would launch your project on TM1, you'd connect yourself to mission control, and then you'd select, for example, the liquidity tab, and then it would show you, these are all the options for liquidity on Cardano. Would you like to add liquidity to any of these options? These are the current farms being offered on your token policy ID, and here's the process for you to try and get a farm on each of these different liquidity providers. The next tab would be governance. So for governance, create a treasury, and that system we're already working with Summon and in talks with Summon to integrate this and how this would look. Here's the treasury, click a button, your treasury is now made, how many signatures do you need on it? And then for the actual voting platform, here's the voting platform. Would you like to use Agora? We've got a few different standards on Cardano that you can use. What are the differences between these standards? Press the launch button. Here's a thing that you can now embed into your site for governance, right? So it's essentially creating an automated stream, a mission control from which you're able to manage all of those back-end requirements that projects have, right? That way, creating a super easy funnel for everyone to launch on Cardano. You can come onto our site, you can go from not having a project to minting a token, releasing your idea, raising $100,000 or less without even having to do a lawyer's advice, going to our mission control, setting up all the back end for your token, and now you can just worry about building the system. Right? Everything else has been taken care of. And then, of course, we'll give you special offers for using TM1 on VYFI, so we'll give you special advantages for getting farms on VYFI if you put your liquidity there. So...
Yeah, no, that seems all great. It seems you guys have made it like super easy in that aspect. And I kind of want to also pivot too and kind of talk to you about the actual industry in itself, right? You guys are very much big into DeFi, and also want to ask you too, what other sectors in crypto are you also bullish on too? Would it be like gaming, RWAs, or what are some sectors you think are going to blow up in this next cycle?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as, so first of all, RealFi. I think RealFi is a really under-discussed sector in crypto. And that's because crypto is still so full of degens, and degens aren't naturally attracted to RealFi. But we're starting to see, at least definitely in Cardano and also a bit on other blockchains as well, projects that are really focused on making real-world changes in the world, or in, the meat space, so to speak. And that impact, I think, is going to start to be seen in the next 2 to 4 years. So, for example, on Cardano, we have World Mobile Token, and World Mobile Token have already put up a mobile network in Zanzibar and are now working on their first mobile network in Central America. So, I mean, these real-world functions that allow us to bring up a lot of new people into a more technologically advanced future, I think are really currently being underlooked at. And that includes things such as payment mechanisms. There's a massively underserved market throughout Africa that aren't able to access traditional payment mechanisms. That means that they can't go to a white goods appliance store at the moment, and for the most part, they find it very hard to even buy a washing machine. Because to buy a washing machine, they have to amass the cash. Right? And to amass the cash, they don't have a bank account that they can go to and save. They don't even have access to microloans. Right? So all of these things that we really take for granted, we've got 1.5 billion, almost 2 billion people in the world that don't have access to them. And crypto right now, these instruments are being built that's going to be the bridge for those 1.5, 2 billion people to come into what I hope is the future financial system. Right? And at the moment, we're sitting here talking about meme coins, and we're sitting here talking about, oh, look at this NFT. Isn't that a great NFT? And we're sitting here talking about games. I can't wait to do a racing car game and all that. Yeah, great. That's not what I got into crypto for. I got into crypto because I want to change people's financial station, right? People can change their financial station through trading, absolutely, but the odds of you making money on a meme coin, unfortunately, unless you really know what you're doing, you're probably not going to do it, right? And this is coming from a person who's been trading for 9 years, and I've been consistently profitable for 7 of them, right? But what I can say is that if we're able to remove the barriers for the remaining quarter of the world to access the financial system, we're going to unlock all newfound bounds for unlocking humans' economic potential, because this entire sector of our society that's been locked out economically are no longer going to be locked out. and giving them the tools to get themselves integrated. And those tools, that's what I'm most excited for and what I'm looking at.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I do want to ask you about this too as well. You brought it up, right? And it seems like, and I honestly didn't expect it in this early in the cycle, right? I honestly thought it would come kind of like later in the cycle too as well. I honestly thought it would be more of like RWAs, like gaming, other things. Like I thought DeFi core, it's still early though. It could still all happen though, but it seems like that meme coins and, it's not stopping, man. I honestly didn't think they would be at the forefront this early, and it doesn't look like it's going to die down. Honestly, from what I kind of look at it right now, it seems like it's going to lead the cycle, to be honest with you, right? And I think that, what do you kind of say that the people that say that it actually, all these meme coins that pop up, like Gently Hughes, Honda Civic, and everything like that, like kind of like hurts like the kind of making crypto like legitimate, right? And just kind of basically like, is it really good for crypto to actually like have all these things pop up? And it seems like it's kind of like leading the whole cycle as of right now.
Yeah, look, I mean,
Just go off.
Anything I say, I'm a bit of a hypocrite, right? Like I literally trade Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 Inu. So I mean, like, yeah. So meme coins are funny. I understand why they go up and why they go down within the context of the crypto community, right? They have hype cycles. Like everything else, they have hype cycles. Now, what's really difficult to gauge, like what do I think about these new coins, right? Well, I kind of, exactly as you said, meme coins to me are more of a gauge of the immaturity of the market, more so than a gauge of the success of the market, right? If meme coins are leading the charge, to me, that's not a real charge. That's a false charge. Be careful.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
The reason being is because there's no fundamental shift in the market other than degens deciding that they want to push. And there's the halving and a lot of other things. Let's not go into that. I'm talking about like in a market that's abstract of all other conditions and you just see meme coins pump. Don't use that as an indicator to start plowing into things. What I can certainly say though is that there is an opportunity to make money, much like in 1999 with the tech bubble, or in 1987 with the Asian currency bubble. There's always an opportunity to make money in things that are moving quickly. And in a bubble, are all of them a bubble? I mean, probably not. If we go back to the tech bubble, I mean, I would have loved to have bought some Amazon at the bottom of the tech bubble, or bought some Nvidia at the bottom of the tech bubble, right? They weren't bubbles. They were just caught up in a hype and dump cycle, right? They were real businesses doing real things. And in the same way, there are some real meme coins that are likely going to survive. The difficulty then becomes gauging which one are those. You know, can you develop a system that allows you to pick those? Doge, almost certainly, yeah. You're probably Shiba Inu and those classics now have been a bit ingrained into the collective consciousness.
I also want to kind of pivot off that and kind of go. You guys said you did have a governance token, correct?
Yeah, VyFi is our governance token.
Yeah. So it basically, is that something that, just how is it? If you can kind of go through like real quick, someone that's actually going to be watching this and kind of learning about you guys for the first time, and like how is that kind of used?
Yeah, so all you have to do is hold VyFi or have it in our system anywhere, and then that'll count towards votes in our governance when we have proposals. The discussions are held on our Discord. So we've got a Discord channel specifically dedicated to our governance, where users are able to put up proposals and discuss them as a community. If we get enough upvotes, then we go in for a proposal, and then we see how that performs, and then we implement. At the moment, we're voting on the Treasury rules because we've just implemented this governance. It launched this week, so we're still doing our first sort of few rounds of voting. But we're really excited. We've got some really big votes coming up, such as, token burn, adjusting our distribution ratios for our bar, so to get more distributed out to users, adjusting our fees for trades, adjusting our marketing strategy, creating an ambassador program. If you go onto our Discord, we've got upwards of 15, 20 proposals up there being discussed. So, I mean, definitely go through and have a look at our Discord. Also, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Telegram, and come and ask us anything. I mean, what I said at the beginning was very complex about our platform, but the one thing I really do want to just enforce is that all this complexity that we've built is for the purpose of making it as easy as possible for the user to engage, right? You make the back end more complex to make the front end more simple. And definitely go check it out. Our transaction cart is going to be released next Wednesday, so that's coming out super soon. And by the time that comes out, you're going to be able to run 50 transactions at once. There, as far as we can gather, the maximum that we've been able to run in a single go is 70. So, run 70 transactions in a single, or 70 swaps in a single transaction. So, I mean, you know, come and have a play.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Steven, though, too, as well, like you have all these like, kind of things going on, right? You have the launch pad, you have, you know, all this, you know, stuff that you guys are building, which is amazing. But kind of, and I want to, like, you know, this is, you know, you personally, like, where would you guys like to be a year from now?
So I already told you where we want to be with TM1 a year from now, and that's with our mission control. For VYFI, we're currently in the midst of building out our auto harvester. So just to give you an idea of what an auto harvester is, it's very similar to Yearn. If you've ever heard of Yearn on Ethereum, it essentially allows you to, it acts as very similarly to an indexed fund, but an indexed fund for LP tokens. And that allows users to essentially automate their LP investments. For example, if you wanted to do a gaming strategy, you'd come to the auto harvester, you'd select the gaming strategy pool, and that will automatically invest you in 7 different gaming tokens, and will farm them for you on the DEX, offering the highest farm across all 7 tokens. And it manages all the movements and the balancing for you, so that all you have to do is put your Cardano in, it does all the farming for you, and then you pull out the results at the end, right? And that's similar to how Yearn works, and this doesn't currently exist on Cardano, right? There's currently no system that aggregates liquidity mining for people. And this is, again, another step in wanting to simplify that process even further. And the way that I think about it is really trying to create a funnel for new users to DeFi, right? So how can we create as simplified a funnel as possible to take you on that DeFi journey? That's the same thought that we have for TM1, which is how do we create a simplified funnel for the project's journey for launching on Cardano. So for a user that's brand spanking new to DeFi, they've never touched it before, your first step is you want to press a button and you want to see what happens. So to do that, we're building the auto harvester. That lets you come in, press a button, and now you're already bought 8 different tokens and you're farming. And you can see your farming happening. And you're like, okay, so I've just pressed a button and I'm already farming 8 different tokens. What the hell just happened? And then there's going to be a read more. So you can go, okay, so let's work out what just happened. Press the button. That takes you to the read more. That then explains to you the basics of what liquidity mining is. Explains to you what the auto harvester is doing and explains to you what these systems are. Which then takes you to step 2. Oh, okay, I want to try liquidity mining myself. Well, I can go to the DEX and I can just buy an LP token. So you go to the front end, you put in 50 Cardano and you buy an LP token. You do 1 transaction. And now you're liquidity mining by yourself. Look at that. I've just changed that funnel of a new user from what is classically an incredibly arduous process to literally 1 single transaction. All I have to do is get them with a wallet. As long as I can get them with a wallet, they're able to commit that 1 transaction, right? It makes DeFi, our aim, is to make DeFi accessible to everybody. And Cardano really allows us to do that in a way that no other blockchain does.
I love that. No, I love that. And kind of, you know, Steven, I really appreciate you kind of coming on. And I do want to say, though, that before you go, is there anything else you want to say? And also, too, do you want to shout out anybody from the community or shout out anybody in general?
Yeah, look, I definitely want to say thank you for having me on, of course. It's been really a pleasure to be on the show, and I always love the opportunity to come and talk about what we're doing and talk about Cardano and how it's different. So thank you. Thank you to all your listeners and to your editing team, of course. And I just want to give a shout out to, more than anything, the Cardano community. You know, none of this, everything that we've done would not have been possible without them. It's been a 3.5-year endeavor now, and it really is because of the love and support that we've had from the community that we've been able to do this. And there has been a bit of drama recently with a few tokens, let's not name names. But at the end of the day, the Cardano community has been strong and very united for upwards of 5-6 years now. It's one of the oldest communities in crypto. And one thing that I just want to add as well, just before I do go as well, is that I really think that blockchain should reduce tribalism and that we should be working together. We're all after the same thing, right?
Yep.
I build on Cardano. Don't hate me for it, right? Because I certainly don't hate whatever blockchain you love. It's fine. We're all trying to achieve the same thing. This whole concept of islands, these island blockchains that all have to be completely independent of one another, I think is something that, again, shows an immaturity in the market. And that's something that you, obviously, as a creator, are not doing that and are trying to move away from that. And I definitely think as a community as a whole, we should be moving away from. I just wanted to add in that little PSA at the end.
Yeah, no, definitely. I 100% agree because, like I say, I am a cross-chain podcast. I go from, Polygon, AVAX, Arbitrum, Cardano. Of course, Cardano was the original place I actually started out on. Because, even Blast right now, Blast has some stuff to say, all this other stuff too as well. So yeah, it's going to be a different, interesting year. And I appreciate you coming on, Steven. And guys, this is going to wrap our show. If you like content like this, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow me on X. Follow VyFI also too as well. I have all their socials pinned down at the bottom. Also want to give a shout out to my sponsors as well. This is also brought to you by MergeZ. Shout out to friends. And the EMG app. We'll have more information on that as we go. But guys, I will see you around on the next one. Take care.